Robert, with hopefully short video where I share something that I learned about Agentforce just recently. Um, I was building an app which had to integrate a customer's API, and I was super happy to stumble over this article by Philippe Osile about using external services metadata in Agentforce. So, as I cannot show you the customer code and the customer API, I tried to mimic that in the Akiva's open source my org butler. Yeah, but what I did was simple. I just got the open API specification for the customer's API. In this case, this is the page for the GitHub one. Then I went into my org, into my Scratch org, and from the YAML just created this beautiful external services. It's really beautiful because you can really select the operations. It also does understand like error codes and all of that. And this took a minute or so. By the way, I stripped down the original OpenAPI spec using ChatGPT because there are many operations which are related to authentication, authorization, which is done differently in Salesforce. And it helped me strip down the multi megabytes of YAML into a much simpler one. But okay, I get my external service. I went into Agentforce Builder. I was expecting when I select API and external services to see my operations in here. But that's not the case due to a Salesforce bug. At the moment, in every namespace environment, this does not work. So if this would not be a Scratch org with a namespace, but a Scratch org without a namespace, you could perfectly select all the operations from the external services here. But it does not work. There is Salesforce created a known issue for that. Yeah, please also report that if you are interested in getting a fix. Salesforce said that a fix will be around October, which is quite late, so maybe we can speed it up by more people reporting it. But you don't need it. You can do it like I do it, and this is how I did it. I created a new topic for GitHub tasks, standard scope and classification. I put most of my instructions into one instruction field, and the other instruction field just contains the large YAML file. Yeah, and let's see how that works. It works fantastic. So list all my repos, and I will just show you how that works. The topic basically only has this description, but it also has an action which you see at the moment when it's done. So you see it's really outputting our repositories. You see it selected our topic, and then it used an action which is called GitHub API, and this is really I don't know 40 lines of code, and it basically has no GitHub semantics. It just really does an HTTP request to a name credential endpoint. The input is absolutely generic. Give me an endpoint URL, including parameters. Give me an HTTP method, a raw request body, and the output is just a raw response body. We use that at Akiva also for other topics and actions in my org butler, where we basically could use all the Salesforce APIs without actually coding in the semantics of them. And this also works for the GitHub case. So when we go back to Agent Builder, I can just ask, summarize recent file changes to my org butler repo last 4 days. Yeah, it gives us all the commits with a short description, who did it, the date, and yeah, and nobody instructed Agentforce to actually do that. You see, it's really just the YAML. So Agentforce is able to take its understanding generally of what GitHub is and what the operations are and the YAML and actually make sense out of your complicated questions. So no explicit mapping between user intent and the API is needed. And I think that's really showing how powerful AI is. You don't have to hard code every single step and every little ground rule which exists in the world. Just give it the pure semantics in the form of an open API specification and maybe a little bit of instructions, and then you can actually have a very powerful tool. Yeah, thanks for watching.